Recording. All right. All right. All right, number 18. So we're trying to solve for x. 7x plus 4 equals 53. Let's see. Okay. We're going to subtract 4 from both sides. All right, so that's going to give us 7x equals 49. You'll see why I'm so excited about this computer now? You know, I don't have my hand blocking everything that I'm writing with my good old left-handedness. Right. And I don't have ink all over my arm. All right, so 7x equals 49. So we're going to divide both sides by 7. And that's going to give us x is equal to 7. Number 19, similar. We want to get x by itself. So I'm going to start by adding 23 to both sides. All right, so my account was overdrawn by $71 and I deposit $23 in the account. It's still going to be overdrawn, but by how much? Okay. Huh? 48. Yep, that sounds good. All right, so you do that by just doing 71 minus 23 to get 48. And then next we can divide both sides by 6. So x equals -8. Okay. All right, number 20, we need to subtract 4.6 from both sides. So 4x equals, and then that's going to be also 4.6, I believe. And then we can divide both sides by 4. So let's see. That's going to be 1.4, I believe. No, not quite, not quite. I'm dividing by 4. Yeah. So I was trying to do it in my head, but I better not. Oops. Okay. So 4 goes into 4 one time. 1 times 4, 4. And down to 6. 1 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. Then we do another 0. And then 4 goes into 20 exactly 5 times. So that's 1.15. All right. All right, number 21, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. 1/8 x equals -6. And then I can just multiply both sides by 8. So that would give me x is equal to -48. All right, on number 22, I've got x's on both sides of the equation. So I have to have it where I only have x on one side of the equation. So I could accomplish that by subtracting 6x from both sides. And that would give me -13x equals -26. And then I will just divide both sides by -13. And that would give me x is equal to +2. All right. Number 23. Also, we have x's on both sides of the equation. So we want to make it where we only have x on one side of the equation. So in this case, I will do that by adding 4x to both sides. All right, so that would be 72 equals -8x. And then I will divide both sides by -8, which would give me -9 equals x. All right, number 24. Again, we have x on both sides of the equation, and we need to only have x on one side of the equation. So you can either subtract 7x from both sides, or you can add 3x to both sides. Either way, it doesn't matter which way you want to do it. It's going to get the same answer either way. I think in this case, I'll go ahead and add 3x to both sides. So that gives me 8 equals 10x plus 8. Okay, and I want to get the x by itself, so the next thing I'm going to do is subtract 8 from both sides. That gives me 0 equals 10x. And then I just need to divide both sides by 10. 0 divided by 10 is still 0, so 0 equals x. Okay, number 25. Again, I've got x's on both sides. So I want to get to where I have only x on one side. So let's see. So -x is the same thing as -1x, and x is the same thing as 1x. So we got those invisible ones in there. All right, so I will go ahead and I'm going to add 1x to both sides. Like I said, you could go either way. You could add 1x to both sides, or you could subtract 1x from both sides. Either way, you'll get the same answer. So that's going to cancel out on the left, and then I'm just going to have 12 equals -4 plus 2x. And then I will add 4 to both sides. And that's going to give me 16 equals 2x. And then I just need to divide both sides by 2, which gives me 8 equals x. All right, on number 26, I need to simplify first by distributing the 7. So then I have 7x plus 21 equals 38. And then I just need to subtract 21 from both sides. So 7x equals 17. And then just divide both sides by 7. So x equals 17 over 7. And we're just going to leave it like that. Okay, on number 27, the left side of that equation needs to be simplified. So I will distribute the -2 first of all, which will make that -8 plus 2x. And I'm just going to bring the rest of that down. So it's 8x minus 8 plus 2x equals 14. And then I will combine the like terms. So 8x plus 2x makes 10x, and just bring everything else down. So 10x minus 8 equals 14. Now I can just add 8 to both sides. So 10x equals 22. And then just divide both sides by 10. All right, so 10 doesn't go in evenly to 22, but we can reduce the fraction because 22 and 10 are both divisible by 2. So 2 goes into 22 11 times, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. So x is equal to 11/5. And number 28, we also need to distribute and do a bunch of simplifying there. So distribute the 6, which gives you 6a plus 18. Bring down -2 equals, and then distribute the -4, which makes -4a plus 16. And then looking at the left side of the equation, we can combine the like terms. 18 minus 2 is positive 16. and then I'm just going to bring everything else down. So I have 6a plus 16 equals negative 4a, whoops, negative 4a plus 16. All right, so this time it's using a as the variable instead of x, which is fine. But we do have a on both sides, and we need to get it all in one side. So to do that, I'm going to add 4a to both sides. So 10a plus 16 equals 16. Then I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. So that would give me 10a equals 0. And then just divide both sides by 10. So a equals 0. Okay. Oh, okay, that's next we're going to be going over 4.7, which is just solving equations with fractions. All right. And, you know, I don't need these anymore if anybody wants to run over here and grab these. All right. Okay, so we already have gone over how to do fractions. We've already gone over how to solve equations. So this isn't really new information. It's just kind of combining those two concepts. Just take the whole thing, yeah. Yeah. All right, so for number 1, I will start by just subtracting 2/5 from both sides. So negative 21 is the same thing as negative 21 over 1. And then I can just bow tie that. So negative 21 times 5 is negative 105 minus 1 times 2, which is 2, over 1 times 5, which is 5. And negative 105 minus 2 equals negative 107. So x equals negative 107 over 5. All right. Number 2, we need to add 4/5 to both sides. And again, I'm just going to bow tie it. 2 times 5 is 10. 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. And 10 plus 28 is 38. So 38 over 35 equals C. Right, and by simplify, we just mean reducing it, like, yeah, so not changing it to a mixed number, but just, you know, if there's a number that goes into both of those numbers, then you would reduce it by whatever, but yeah, in this case, we can't, so. Okay. Number 3, so 3/4 x equals 2/3. So 3/4 x means 3/4 times x, which means we're going to divide by 3/4. So when you divide by a fraction, you flip the second fraction and multiply. So 2/3 divided by 3/4 turns into 2/3 multiplied by 4/3. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 3 is 9. So x equals 8/9. All right. Number 4. So the first step we need to do is add 3/5 to both sides. And I'm just going to bow tie that, which should be 5 plus 6 over 10. So that is 2y equals 11 over 10. And then we would divide both sides by 2, which is the same as 2 over 1. And so we're going to flip and multiply. So it'll be 11 over 10 multiplied by 1 over 2. And 11 times 1 is 11, and 10 times 2 is 20. So y equals 11 over 20. All right. Number 5. So we could continue to do this like normal, but it'll be a lot easier if we just figure out the LCD and then we multiply that across. I remember someone asked me, can't we just get rid of the fractions? Wasn't that you?
Probably, I hate fractions.
Well, here we go. This is how we're going to get rid of the fractions. All right, so first we have to figure out the LCD. So look at the fractions that are in the problem. We have 1/4 and we have 1/2. So what is the LCD for those two fractions, for the 2 and the 4? Yes, that's right. Okay. All right, so basically we're going to multiply across the whole equation times 4. So every term has to get multiplied by 4. And if you want to call that 4 over 1, that's the same thing. So basically when you're multiplying, 1/4 x is a term of the equation. So you're multiplying the numerator times 4. All right, and then x is the next term in the equation, and you're multiplying that by 4. So even though it's not a fraction, it still has to get multiplied because you have to do it across the whole thing. And -3 has to get multiplied by 4. And 1/2 x has to get multiplied by 4. So the whole point in doing that, like I said, is to cancel out all the fractions. So before you like actually multiply anything, see how you can reduce it. So like 4 and 4 cancel out right there. Okay, so basically that's just 1x plus. And then x times 4 is 4x. And then -3 times 4 would be -12 plus. And then 2 goes into 4 2 times. And 1 times 2 is 2, which makes that 2x. And now the fractions are all gone. So now, let's just simplify. So combine like terms over here. So 1x plus 4x equals 5x. And then I'm just going to bring everything else straight down. So it's equal to -12 plus 2x. My old pen that I used to have like this, it had a, if you use the back of it, it was like an eraser, but this one doesn't do that. It just moves the page up and down. Oh well. I'll live and learn. All right. So subtract 2x from both sides. And then you have 3x equals -12. And divide both sides by 3. So x equals -4. All right, so number 6 is similar to that. So what is the LCD? But 2 doesn't go into 5. So 10. Okay. So multiply by 10 each term. Okay. So 2 goes into 10 5 times. 1 times 5 would be 5. And then 5 goes into 10 2 times, and 2 times 2 is 4. So that's plus 4x minus 1 times 10 is 10 equals 5 goes into 10 2 times. 1 times 2 is 2, so that's 2x plus, and then x times 10 is 10x. So we've got 5 plus 4x minus 10 equals 2x plus 10x. So next, let's combine like terms. So 5 minus 10 equals negative 5. And I'm just going to bring down the 4x. So I've got 4x minus 5 equals. And then on the other side, I just have to combine like terms. 2x plus 10x equals 12x. So I have 4x minus 5 equals 12x. And then I'm just going to, I got to get all x's on only one side. So I'll subtract 4x from both sides. So that would give me negative 5 equals 8x. And then just divide both sides by 8. So negative 5/8 equals x. Any questions?
You can't do that.
I don't see, well, I mean, it depends on what you mean by that, and it depends on what you mean by everything. So anytime you have an equation with fractions in it, you can find the LCD and then you can multiply across, it clears out all the fractions. So yes, that you can do. Yes, you could do it without doing that. So you would have to like combine like terms. So you'd have to combine 1/2 minus 1, right? And you'd have to combine like terms over here. You'd have to combine 1/5 x plus 1x. So you'd have to add fractions some more, and then add fractions some more, and then add fractions some more. So that's why this is easier. But yeah, theoretically, sure, you can do it without doing the LCD. All right. Number 7 says a person's maximum heart rate is estimated to be 220 minus the person's age. If Scott's maximum heart rate is estimated to be 191, how old is Scott? Okay, so the max heart rate equals 220 minus age. And it then says that his max heart rate is 191. So we put 191 equals 220. And I'll just use A for age, 220 minus A. And then I just want to solve that equation for A. So I will subtract 220 from both sides. All right, and that gives me negative 29 equals negative A, which is the same thing as negative 1A. So then I would divide both sides by negative 1. So negative 29 divided by negative 1 is just positive 29. So his age is 29 years old. So if you answered A equals negative 29, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, would it? Since that's his age. Just pointing out that if you got a negative answer for a problem like this, you would know it's wrong because your age can't be negative. All right. So in order to achieve the cardio benefits of exercise, one should maintain a heart rate of 7/10 of their max. If Jenny's target heart rate is 140, how old is Jenny? Okay, so the target heart rate equals 7/10 of means times the maximum heart rate, which, like we were told in the previous problem, is 220 minus the age. And then it says that her target heart rate is 140. So 140 equals 7/10 times 220 minus age. All right. Okay, so probably the easiest way is go ahead and divide both sides by 7/10. So 140 over 1 divided by 7/10. You're going to flip the second fraction and multiply. So 140 over 1 multiplied by 10 over 7. And I always like to see if I could reduce before I actually multiply. So 7 can go into 140 because I know 7 goes into 14 2 times. So that means 7 goes into 140 20 times. And then 20 times 10 is 200 over 1, which is just 200. All right, so basically then I have 200 equals 220 minus the age. Okay. And then I'm just going to subtract 220 from both sides, which would give me negative 20 equals negative A, which is negative 1A. So divide both sides by negative 1. And so A is 20. So Jenny is 20 years old. All right. So we still have, I guess, a week and a half before we have our exam. I went ahead and brought copies of the review for y'all.